Welcome to the final episode of the stream at UNGA, the United Nations General Assembly. The UN and the stream teamed up this week to bring you some of the most important global issues being discussed at the United Nations General Assembly. So these are big conversations, important conversations. We're not intending to have them without you. So we are on TV, we are on Instagram, we are on YouTube. Jump into the comments section and you too can be part of our discussion. So today we're looking at activist musicians who are determined to make sure that the Paris Agreement actually happens. The NGO Pathway to Paris uses musicians and art and culture to try and move the needle on climate action. Take a look.
Climate change is an issue that affects every person on Earth. And music breaks down and redefines geographical borders. Music is a universal language, and climate change is a global concern. A huge opportunity presents itself with the ratification of the Paris Agreement, not only to establish a global climate agreement, but a chance for a diversity of voices from around the world to unite and come up with innovative, sustainable solutions and a global plan of action as we are in a state of emergency.
Hello, activists. Hello, musicians. So good to have you. Jessie, tell the world who you are.
Hello, I'm Patti Smith. I'm a musician and co-founder of Pathway to Paris, and so happy to be here with you.
Happy to have you. Hello, Rebecca. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Foon, and I'm also a co-founder with Jessie of Pathway to Paris and a cellist.
Now, I never thought I'd get to say this, but Patti, tell the world who you are. There may be one or two people who don't know already. Welcome to the stream.
Thank you. I'm Patti Smith. I'm a writer and a performer, and I'm also the proud mother of Jessie Paris Smith.
Ladies, great to have you. I have got a good debate going already on YouTube. So Nasir Sohab says, I don't think it will have an effect on climate. What's it? Pathway to Paris. Music is just music. Jessie?
Wow. I couldn't disagree more with that statement. First of all, we've been doing this for 6 years, and we've firsthand seen the power of music specifically on the climate movement. It started 6 years ago. Becky and I are both musicians. We were both climate activists, and we were so inspired by the People's Climate March, which took place in New York City. It was the biggest, most diverse climate mobilization in history, and we were just so moved by this incredible moment. It was such a historic moment, and we didn't sense that there was a cultural event tied to it, nothing to not only celebrate this amazing moment in history, but also to do the now what piece, like moving forward, what are the solutions? How can we maintain the momentum on this incredible collective action and see how to move forward? So we pulled together an event in New York, bringing together musicians and artists and activists, leading thinkers, scientists, climate experts in an effort to join together a huge diversity of voices and to come up with innovative solutions together. And what we saw through that was an actual true and genuine filling of this gap between music and culture and the climate movement. And we have seen so many incredible things come out of that could never have happened from anything else, because the power of music and the arts, as you can see with any cultural, humanitarian, social movement in history, that music is the oxygen and lifeblood of these movements. And it brings people together, it creates community, it creates such a diverse amount of collaborations that never would have occurred before. And it just engages citizens in such a way that they wouldn't have otherwise been engaged, because these cultural events, these musical events, they bring people together, they create community, they open people's hearts, they ignite the passion in the people, and they also instill in them so much hope and optimism, and music is comforting and healing, and it just is so many different things that it's just not a it's an irreplaceable element in these
Sure.
movements, and it just, you couldn't say enough about it, and all of us can give so many tangible examples of why music is just so important in this movement.
Patti, give us a tangible example. Yeah. Yes, Patti.
I can give one, but let's have her first. No, let's hear from you first.
I was simply going to say that the climate crisis is a global crisis, and music is is the most unifying of all of the arts. It's a universal language. Everyone sings, everyone responds to music, and I've seen, through Pathway to Paris and just doing concerts. If you do a concert to 100,000 people, 50,000 people, and talk to them about the things that we need to address, and you have so many young people rallying through music. It's not music itself; it's its unifying power, and that's what we need: are unifying principles in order to make change.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What I was going to say was that it would be wonderful enough if they were just concerts, but they are not just concerts, and that's not the purpose of them. The purpose of Pathway to Paris and our initiatives is to bring together as many people into the conversation as possible and make it as global and diverse of a collaboration as we can. But the purpose of it is to arm citizens with the tools that they need to bring to their communities, to bring to their local governments, so that they can be part of the movement. So the reason that we have musicians and activists and climate experts and writers and scientists and regular people is because our intention is to show every single person on this planet what their role is and how important their role is, and arm them with all of the tools and the facts that they need to get involved. And so our audiences are very busy during our shows. It's not a passive event, which would be wonderful enough. They're very active. They have a lot of things that we make them do. We sign letters, we sign petitions, we take pledges, we get up and we do actions together. They learn things, they take things back to their communities. And at every single one of our events, you watch before your very eyes people getting all of the information they need. You see their passion ignited. You see that turn into action, and you see climate warriors born right in front of your eyes. And it's the most incredible thing in the world. And we have actually pushed forward with policies and made things happen because it created at our concerts, in our initiatives and video projects and stuff that we've done with our partner organizations and working with people across the world. We've made incredible things happen and seen it happen because of this engagement.
Jessie, the people in the YouTube comment section who are music lovers, they appreciate music, but they do not understand how, Patti, for instance, you doing a concert is going to impact climate change.
Okay, well, here's one tangible example I can give you. So at each of our concerts, depending on the city that we're in, the state of the world, whatever the current urgency is, we choose a topic and we have our audiences write a letter, a very specific, important letter. And so, for example, in 2017, we were very concerned about New York City divesting its pension fund from fossil fuels. So we partnered together with 350 and other groups, and we developed a campaign around divestment. And at our concerts, we had our audience members join together during the concert. They're already full of love and passion and excitement, and they want to get involved and they want to learn how. They might have just come to the concert because they liked one of the artists who were performing. They might have known zero about climate change. They might have not cared about it or believed in it. But in our concert, throughout the whole night, you'll have films and you'll have speeches, you'll hear from people, and it will open you up and you'll learn, and it's incredible.
Jessie, do you know what I'm thinking? Do you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking that the people who are in the YouTube comments, they need to go to a Pathway to Paris event, and then they get it, because you are explaining it beautifully.
I'm sorry, I told you that we blab too much.
I'm going to go to Joseph Sekulu. Joseph is a climate action warrior. He is part of an organization called 350.org. It's an NGO that is trying to build a climate movement. if we're talking about climate activism, I want to share with you what Joseph is saying about why it is so critical right now. Then, Patti, you pick off the back of that.
Not understanding the full extent of the climate crisis is what worries me most. Right now, we're living through the realities of climate-induced disasters. Our storms are more powerful than ever. Our seas are warming. Our ocean life is changing. Our food is becoming more difficult to grow. Fires are burning more fiercely across the world. And if this is today, what does tomorrow look like for our next generation and for the generations to come? Climate action is important to me because it's about setting the foundations today in our policy, in our way of living, in our society. Foundations that we will ensure our future generations can continue to build strong, resilient, sustainable and safe futures.
Patti, you are so tied up with Pathway to Paris, this whole idea of we have to make climate action actually happen. Why?
Well, I think he's already, I don't think that it's hard to, it's more like why not? Because everywhere around us is proof that action is paramount right now. We're already in a terrible crisis time and there is no more time. But I think that these specific questions should go to Rebecca and Jesse because the reason that I work with them is because they have the language, they have the energy, they are the ones who are doing all of the footwork. I react emotionally to these things. I react as an artist, a poet, a performer, and I pin my faith on our young activists all over the world. And it's heartbreaking every day. I mean, whether it's the fires in California, the rainforest in Australia, fires in Portugal, flooding in the Sudan, and drought in Yemen. Wherever you look, you see that people are suffering because of climate change. And so I am there not as the forefront warrior, but as someone who will follow and give my energy and give my love and whatever I can to our young who are doing the real work.
Rebecca, I'm going to play a clip and it's the three of you all performing, you and Jesse and Patti, and I'm going to ask you about that performance in just a moment. This is
Okay.
Wind.
I was a pawn, couldn't make a move, couldn't go nowhere, no future at all. Yet I was free, I needed nobody. It was beautiful, it was beautiful. And if there's one thing could do for you, you'd be a wing in heaven blue.
Rebecca, I'm going to call it a movement. What you've been trying to do is galvanize people using music and art and culture to make people aware, get them to act. So 6 years in, how do you feel? Have people's attitudes changed?
Well, it's a really interesting time right now in the world because when we started Pathway to Paris, it was all about building momentum to help make sure the Paris Agreement was formed after seeing critical history with what happened with Kyoto and Copenhagen. And now our focus is how do we turn this Paris Agreement into reality of limiting global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees. And current science is showing that we're very close. Modeling projections are even saying maybe in 4 years we will hit that 1.5 degrees, which is no longer a livable planet. And so, or at least we'll start to see mass migration. And so for us, I think we're trying to, through music, through the power of art and culture and critical thinking and building bridges and bringing people together, because this is really all about collective action and collective solutions. We're trying to also create awareness and tie in solutions for regular citizens. And that's why we started the 1,000 Cities initiative for carbon freedom, because the idea behind that is if 1,000 cities can hit net zero as soon as possible, we can turn the Paris Agreement a lot closer into action. And so we're helping support cities as well in terms of figuring out how to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions, because there's only so much carbon budget left for each city, and we're getting close. A lot of cities are getting very close at hitting that carbon budget. And that's when things will become a lot trickier, and we'll need to start thinking about adaptation as well as mitigation for people that can no longer live in places in the world that is safe due to climate change.
I want to bring in two musicians that we spoke to a little bit earlier, where they explained what it is that they're able to do as musicians, as poets, as artists, and why climate action is so important. Have a look.
Praise and good wishes alone are not enough. We need a sense of universal responsibility as our central motivation to rebalance our relationship with this blue planet, Earth, our home.
We can all come together and help create a brighter future for all of us. And when talking about the climate crisis, I do believe that this is absolutely attainable. We do have the power.
Lots of mentioning of power there. I think people will know about one of Patti's really well-known songs, and power is put in there. All right, so we're going to hear that in a little bit, but Off Grid, who's on YouTube right now, thanks for watching. I do believe that music can influence the thinking, attitude of people about climate change, just as it has influenced and impacted various cultures. To the young, it can be more profound. Becky, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I do think this is an intergenerational conversation, because this is our one and only planet. And we cannot give up. We have to, I think hope is essential to being alive on planet Earth. And for us, we are musicians. We are connected through the power of music. And we also are connected by, we love inspiration, collective inspiration, and we've seen it through our events. We've seen how much action has been created. For example, in New York City, when Jesse was talking about direct action, and the letters, we actually sent letters out to Mayor de Blasio and Controller Scott Stringer to support or to encourage a New York City divestment of fossil fuels for New York City's pension funds and New York State's pension funds. And that was major collective action that took place. So we really do see the power of bringing people together. Jesse, do you want to jump in on that?
I just wanted to say really quickly, I was amazed when we did, when I was part of their Pathway to Paris's concert at Carnegie Hall, when they had the audience write letters during the concert and spoke to them about the importance of this. I mean, in all the years that I have been performing, and even all of the benefits I have done, I have never seen direct action at a concert, and direct action that actually was successful. And so I think that, as Jesse said, these Pathway to Paris, it's cultural. It joins us through art, through music. I have met so many people all over the world through Pathway to Paris with like minds and inspiring others. But they go across the board. Political action, with local action, with awareness, with just so many aspects of our consciousness, and I've learned quite a lot. I've learned quite a lot, and I'm a fan. I'm a working fan.
I just want to add one thing, is that that letter writing campaign was only one campaign that we've hosted and been part of. We do that at all of our events, and that one specifically was very successful. From that letter writing campaign, sending 3,000 letters from one concert to Comptroller Scott Stringer, as well as a huge internet push for people to call and send their own letters outside of the concert, that led us to getting a citizen hearing with Councilwoman Tish James, which led to the announcement of New York City divesting from fossil fuels. And that was a huge victory. It was a historic moment because New York City was the first city to make that announcement. And what that showed to cities around the world is that there was such an open playing field to make history. The transition from out of the era of fossil fuels into 100% renewable energy is uncharted territory. And there are so many opportunities for cities and mayors and countries and presidents to be the one who makes these decisions, to set best practices for cities around the world. And they want to be the ones who make these historic changes and who put themselves on the map in that way. And so New York City making that announcement, it made London make that same announcement. It made cities and countries around the world say, oh, well, we want to be the one to do that. So it is showing that it came from a concert and pushing citizens to get engaged at this concert, to writing letters, to getting a citizen testimonial hearing, to getting an announcement, to that worldwide, like it's a ripple effect. And it's just saying that it's amazing to see.
Jessie, I hear you. You have persuaded me. YouTube, I don't know if you're persuaded yet. Jessie is going to keep talking at you until you are persuaded. All right, let me show you something here on my laptop. This is coming up on September the 24th, the high-level roundtable on climate action. This is heads of state, heads of businesses all gathering together virtually, actually, on this platform during the virtual UNGA. This is what's happening at the high level. Patti, what have you seen in your time as an activist and a musician where you have seen people's attitudes change towards their environment, towards the climate change?
Well, as a child, I remember my mother being very disturbed because already she was seeing changes in the ocean, changes in the way, she would say, it used to smell so strong of salt. There used to be thousands of clams and oysters and all kinds of sea life. And she was very worried about how it was changing. And I started noticing things myself, even as a child, but people weren't so interested in that. Bob Dylan did write a song in Hard Rain's Gonna Fall that gave some attention to this, but it wasn't on the forefront. There were many other important issues, the war against, there was the war in Vietnam, and of course civil rights, and we just, the focus was not on climate the way it is. Right. People really didn't pay much attention to it, and to all of this, I'm sorry, to see young activists, to see the work that Greta has done, to see the work that Pathway to Paris has done, to see all of this awareness, to listen to Al Gore or 350.
Right. Patti, I'm going to say thank you because I want to leave our audience with something to go away with that is beautiful.
I'm sorry.
Patti and Jessie, no apologies needed. We could talk about music and activism. We got to end on some great music. So Patti and Jessie and Rebecca, People Have the Power was written by Patti Smith and her late husband. It has become an anthem for activists around the world. I want to end with this. But first, thank you so much, guests. Thank you, YouTube. And thank you to the SDG and Media Zone for collaborating with the AJ Stream this week, bringing you all of these UNGA special shows. I will leave you with People Have the Power. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care.
Thank you.